Hello, and welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. Today we're going to be doing another D&D 3.5 Prestige class review, and we're going to be looking at the Exorcist of the Silver Flame Prestige class from the Eberron campaign setting. Exorcists of the Silver Flame are part of the Church of the Silver Flame's effort in combating extraplanar threats, and so you're going to be essentially your abilities are going to be centered around this purifying silver flame that the church worships, and combating fiendish possession and the like. So if your campaign has a lot to do with evil outsiders, this prestige class is advertising itself as a good option. We'll see if it actually is one. Now, this prestige class is specific to the Eberron campaign setting, but you don't necessarily have to be in Eberron to play this. It could be easily adapted for other settings, so it's still worth looking at. It could be easily renamed to be a sort of generic exorcist type of prestige class. We'll take a look at if it's worth taking. Now, to become an Exorcist of the Silver Flame, you're going to need a +3 base attack bonus. You're going to need to be of any good alignment. You're going to need 3 ranks in Knowledge of the Planes and 8 ranks in Knowledge Religion. You need to be able to cast first level divine spells, and you must be a worshipper of the Silver Flame. So, with those requirements, this prestige class is pretty open to paladins or clerics or favored souls, but we're mostly going to look at clerics and paladins here. Now, needing 3 ranks in Knowledge of the Planes is going to sap away skill points from other skills that you're really going to need, such as concentration and spellcraft. If you're playing a human, which I believe a lot of the Silver Flame followers tend to be, then that won't be as much of an issue for you, but you're still going to be giving up ranks in spellcraft, so hopefully the party wizard is willing to make up for the gap there, which they probably will be, assuming you do have other characters of spellcraft in your party. You don't really need that many of them, but they're still useful to be able to identify incoming spells and the like. Either way, while those 3 ranks in Knowledge of the Planes are a little bit awkward, it's actually some ways surprising that it doesn't require more, given that this is focused on fighting evil outsiders, but no complaints. 11 skill ranks is still a fair bit to give up, but other than that, you do automatically qualify for this as a level 5 paladin or a level 5 cleric, if you do take those requisite skill ranks, of course. So those are the 2 options we're going to be looking at as feeding into the Exorcist of the Silver Flame, and we'll see which one is the better choice. What do you get from the Exorcist of the Silver Flame itself? Well, you're going to get a D8 hit die, 2+ intelligence modifiers, skill points per level. You're also going to get a full base attack bonus, so whether you come in here as a cleric or a paladin, you're still going to get that full base attack, which is great. Fortitude and Will be your good save, so that's also good. As for your spellcasting progression, well, you're going to get 1 level of no spellcasting progression, then 2 levels of spellcasting progression, then 1 level without, 2 levels with, 1 level without, 2 levels with, and so on. So you're going to get spellcasting advancement at 6 of the 10 levels of this prestige class. So if you come into this as a level 5 cleric, you're going to finish this as a 15th level character that casts as an 11th level cleric. So, well, where you would be otherwise getting 8th level spells, you're going to be just getting to level 6 spells. So you'll have heal at level 15 at least, but that's going to be about it. I mean, obviously the other level 6 cleric spells. So that's a significant downgrade, and already, personally for me, that knocks this prestige class out of the running for clerics. Yes, giving up paladin spellcasting advancement sucks also, but it's not as big of a part of the paladin's identity, and this prestige class, as we'll see, is very focused on weaponry, so it might not be that bad of a deal to give up some paladin spellcasting for these abilities. Also, as a paladin, you're going to be feeding into this with a full base attack bonus yourself. Another thing neglected to mention is that you could come into this as a fighter cleric multi-class, but I wouldn't really suggest that, personally. But that said, paladin is kind of hard to meet the requirements for sometimes, what with the charisma and everything like that. That said, you are going to want to have some charisma for this as well, because, spoiler alert, this prestige class also gets Smite Evil. So maybe if you were like a fighter / favored soul, that might work a little bit better, but honestly, you're probably just better off coming in as a paladin, even if you're a mediocre paladin. And I often presuppose that anybody coming into a prestige class as a paladin is just going to have excellent statistics anyway. Otherwise, they wouldn't have chosen to play a paladin and probably wouldn't bother with this prestige class. But definitely not a good choice for clerics in my opinion. I'll just say that right now. So let's look at some of the features that you get as an Exorcist of the Silver Flame. Well, at level 1, you're going to get Flames of Censure. This allows you to essentially use Turn Undead on outsiders with the evil subtype. And you roll 2d6 plus your level in this class, plus your charisma modifier for turning damage. And you do a normal charisma check for the basic turning check. So because of that, you're not going to have the greatest bonus to turning damage, and it's going to be really hard for you to actually turn any significantly powerful evil outsiders. If you do manage to censure an outsider, as they call it, they're stunned for 1 round. If your character level is at least twice that of the target, then they are banished back to their home plane. You can do this number of times per day equal to 3 plus your charisma modifier, so hopefully you have a good charisma, but honestly, you might not be using this too much. You might just be better off just slashing them to pieces. This can be good, though, for dealing with lesser demons if you want to just take a round to take care of a bunch of dretches that are standing in the way and just going to be there to harass you, and then go and focus on a larger, more powerful demon. This is a great ability, though. I mean, Turn Undead is a great ability against undead. The only thing that hampers it is that you're not always fighting undead. So, against evil outsiders, this is really great. You're also going to get Weapon of the Exorcist. You choose a weapon which you dispense upon the will of the church. The chosen weapon must be a weapon you're proficient with, obviously, and it must have been in your possession for the last 24 hours. While wielding this weapon, you get a +1 sacred bonus on damage rolls, and it's treated as a magic weapon for the purpose of overcoming damage reduction. Now, it probably already is an actual magic weapon, so that part of the feature is a little bit useless, but still, getting a weapon that gets an extra +1 sacred on damage that stacks with everything is at least not a bad feature, and this feature will get more improvements later. That said, if you want to do 2-up in fighting with this prestige class, you're kind of out of luck because you can only have 1 weapon of the Exorcist at a time. So that's level 1. At level 2, you're going to get Weapon of Silver. This is going to treat your chosen weapon as silvered as well as magical for the purposes of overcoming damage reduction. Now, that's nice because alchemically silvering a weapon is going to give it -1 damage, so you could almost consider this to be an effective +1 to damage again. So that's not bad, and having silver on at all times is nice. It is only limited to that 1 weapon again, and it's not like you're going to be able to just pull out another one. And while running into opponents that are going to require silver, it's mostly going to be devils. This is a nice feature. It's not anything particularly amazing. You could just have a silvered longsword in your possession, but it's sort of cool. At level 3, you're going to get Dark Vision out to 30 feet. That's mediocre as far as Dark Vision goes, and honestly, you might already have it. So there's that as well. So not a very good feature. Also at level 3, you're going to get a +4 sacred bonus on saving throws against possession. You also get a +2 sacred bonus on saves against charm and compulsion effects, and effects cast by evil outsiders or undead. So that's nice. It's good to have an extra little bit of saving throws against those kinds of nasty spells and special abilities. Something that from a succubus or vampire, you're going to want that extra bonus against that sort of effect that can take your character out of action and potentially turn them against the rest of the party. And then also at level 3, you're going to get Smite Evil. Once a day, you can attempt to Smite Evil. You add your Charisma modifier to the attack roll and deal 1 extra damage per Exorcist level. If you're also a Paladin or Cleric, you add your daily uses of that ability together. Adds your Exorcist level to your Paladin or Cleric level to determine extra damage. So that's nice. It says if you're a 5th level Cleric, 10th level Paladin, 3rd level Exorcist of Silver Flame, you could Smite Evil 4 times per day and deal an extra 18 points of damage on a successful smite. So more reason to commit to this as a Paladin. You do get some more uses of Smite Evil, which isn't the most amazing feature in the world, but it is a little spike of extra damage. It is a solid option. At level 4, you're going to get Detect Thoughts at will as a spell. The save DC is going to be 10, plus your Exorcist class level, plus your Charisma modifier. And while that's a useful spell, it's going to be pretty situational. Having it at will, though, is nice, although you're going to want to be careful how much you use the Probe Deeper option because you might end up making a lot more enemies than you want to. Starting at level 4, you get Weapon of Good, which lets you treat your chosen weapon as good aligned, silver, and magic for overcoming damage reduction. That's nice, although I wish this feature had come earlier on. I mean, you will have had access to Aligned Weapon for a while now, probably, if you don't just plain have a Holy Sword at this point. I guess this is saving you some gold on those sorts of bonuses, but you still might want the Holy option, as it will give you an extra 2d6 damage, which is really nice. I mean, it's basically Bane against evil creatures, and who wouldn't want that? At level 5, you're going to get Silver Exorcism. This is going to give the Exorcist of the Silver Flame a +2 bonus on charisma checks to force possessing spirits out of the bodies of those they possess. And it's going to also give you that same bonus on all dispel checks and caster level checks to harm, banish, or overcome the spell resistance of evil outsiders. So basically free spell penetration. This will be good if you somehow want to suffer through this as a cleric, but otherwise it's not very good. If they wanted this feature to be effective, then they could have given it full spellcasting progression. And honestly, with the features we've seen so far, don't really see a whole lot of reason why they didn't do that. But I suppose they did have their reasons. It also adds in that if you force a possessing spirit out of somebody's body, with this bonus, they take 1d6 points of sacred damage. So I guess the Silver Flame does burn the possessed as well as the possessor. But hopefully that won't be killing anybody. At level 6, you're going to get Weapon of Flame. So now we finally get into something really good here. You basically get a flaming weapon, which you probably wouldn't have already. Giving you a free equivalent of a +1 ability is nice because you can use that enhancement bonus on some other ability or on just another enhancement bonus to help you with the hit and damage. Either way, this is a good feature. Unfortunately, you're not getting this until level 6, so it's a little bit, lackluster, disappointing there. Level 7, you're going to get another use per day of Smite Evil. That's nice. At level 8, you're going to get Weapon of Law. So now you can treat your chosen Exorcist weapon as lawful aligned, as well as the other things, for the purposes of overcoming damage reduction. That's good to have. I mean, not a lot of people are going to want to take Axiomatic. But again, Aligned Weapon could have dealt with that issue here. But still, it's nice to have it on all the time. At level 9, you're going to get Weapon of Sacred Flame. So now, when you're wielding your chosen weapon, it deals an extra 1d6 points of sacred damage. And presumably this is in addition to the fire damage. So you're doing an extra 2d6 damage on every hit with this weapon. That's pretty nice. And remember, you could, of course, stack this. I mean, I don't think there's any reason why you couldn't stack this with a flaming weapon as well as a holy weapon. So if you had like a flaming holy sword somehow, then you could be doing an extra 2d6 fire damage and an extra maybe 3d6 sacred damage, or at least 2d6 holy and 1d6 sacred, however that's classified. That would be a lot of extra damage, and while some of it might be resisted, like the fire, for example, will be resisted a lot, that extra holy damage won't be. And that's just, again, free boost to your damage, which is nice. Finally, at level 10, you're going to get Warding Flame. This is kind of like Holy Aura as the spell, which you could be getting if you were a high-level paladin or cleric. But I guess getting it instead as a supernatural ability is nice. This lets you bathe yourself in Silver Flame as a free action. And as long as the Warding Flame covers you, you get a +2 sacred bonus to armor class and saving throws, as well as spell resistance 25 against evil spells and spells cast by evil creatures. Also, any creature that makes a successful melee attack against you while you're bathed in your Warding Flame has to do a fortitude save of DC 20 plus your charisma modifier or be blinded. It just says blinded, it doesn't say for how long, so presumably that's permanent blindness. So until they get a remove blindness/deafness spell, they're going to be unable to see you, and that's going to make them a lot less effective in combat. And this is a pretty fantastic feature. I mean, it doesn't give a number of uses per day for this, so it looks like you can just have this on whenever you want. So that's pretty fantastic. I mean, a high-level paladin could be doing something like Holy Aura and a lot of other spells, but those aren't free actions to activate, and they're not at will either. So having access to this is awesome. It's a great capstone ability. Is it worth waiting for? I would actually say yes, as a paladin it would be worth waiting for. A lot of the features of this prestige class are pretty lackluster, but honestly, as good as Smite Evil is, I could honestly see this being a better option generally than having a few more uses of Smite Evil. And again, you're probably going to get enough to be able to smite evil once per combat, which is about as often as you're going to be doing it anyway. And if you're in the kind of campaign where you only have like one fight per day, then you're probably going to be able to smite evil every round, whether you kept going in Paladin or you took levels in this prestige class. But having that spell resistance, as well as the additional bonus on attacks and damage, as well as being able to blind enemies that hit you if they're evil outsiders, is really awesome. So, overall, I would have to give this prestige class 3 stars for concept and 3.5 stars for execution. Easily 4 stars in a campaign where you're fighting a lot of evil outsiders. If you're not, then it's going to be 3 stars if you're running into them about as often as average. It's fantastic at fighting evil outsiders, but otherwise it's not really that great. A lot of the weapon alignment features that it gives you are unnecessary. You're probably going to have a magic weapon, let's be honest, and if you don't, then this feature would be screwing you over. Because just having a mundane weapon be treated as magic, you're not going to be getting the bonuses to hit and damage that you would want from your primary weapon. The other features like Detect Thoughts are kind of nice utility features, but nothing to write home about. The extra uses of Smite Evil are nice, but the improvements to your chosen weapon are what really makes the Prestige class, and the Warding Flame feature is awesome. Ways that you could improve the Exorcist of the Silver Flame, well, you could make this a 5-level prestige class, but it would be a little bit cramped. A better option would be to give some kind of scaling bonus to damage, even if it was something very small from early on, each time you get one of these Weapon of Silver, Weapon of Good, etc. abilities. Or you could put them alongside more uses of Smite Evil, but that might be loading up this prestige class a little bit too much. As is, it's really hard to improve this prestige class without a significant redesign, and Warding Flame is honestly strong enough that you probably don't want to put this at the end of a 5-level prestige class. It might be a little bit too good. Maybe not compared to some features, obviously, but for what's out there for a Paladin, it might be a little bit too strong to do that. Definitely full spellcasting could help out this prestige class, making it a viable option for clerics who could then take advantage of the Silver Exorcism feature, which otherwise, honestly, is probably not going to get used very much. So giving it full spellcasting would probably be my first choice. That may seem a little bit unoriginal, but there's very few prestige classes that really have a solid reason not to give full spellcasting. Their features have to be really, really excellent in order to justify that. As a middle ground compromise, perhaps just missing 2 levels of spellcasting instead of 4 might be a little bit more tolerable. Having only 1 spell level downgraded when you finish this prestige class is a lot nicer than being down 2 levels of spells and 4 levels of caster level. So perhaps that could be a nice compromise if you do want to give this prestige class a little bit of a boost. But honestly, it's fine as is as an option for Paladin. I would only do that if you wanted to make it an option for clerics, which would be a good idea, of course. So that'll be about it for this D&D 3.5 Prestige Class review. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.